Okay, so while the drivers are loading, Dad Gaming here, we're back. I might have to make this a new video, but we will talk about some of the things that are cool about this computer. Release highlights, blah, 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 blah. Games, okay. Let's see. Whoops, I don't need to do that. Okay. Sorry, we're going to have some quiet time here. Ready drivers. So I'm going to have to spend some time looking for this, but right now we'll just download whatever the latest driver is. So that's a good speed. You can see it's flying along. Well, again, now look, 9, I mean, it's probably hard to see, but it's 10 megs a second, so I don't know. That's not great. Anyways, so this computer, this laptop that we got, color changing screen or keyboard, obviously that's just a neat feature to have, nothing exciting. On the side, it has lots of expandability. There's an HDMI port. There is an Ethernet port. On some Ultrabooks that I've had in the past, they didn't even have Ethernet ports, so we couldn't gain the speed of being wired. So everyone in the house is going to be wired now to the internet. I got an Ethernet cable, a long Ethernet cable for myself. Plenty of USB ports. Over here, more USB. And inside it is the latest generation of the Core i7. I think it's the 7th generation. It has 16 megs of RAM. That was important to me. It has, hold on, let me continue installation here. Express installation's fine. Like I mentioned, it has an upgraded graphics card, so that's something, of course, that makes it a gaming laptop as opposed to a regular laptop. And this is it. So we're upgrading the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti right now. And that was one that I chose mainly because it is a good budget card, and it seems like it's the best performing budget card for Battlefield 1. You can go higher with NVIDIA, or AMD makes, of course, really good graphics card. Everyone else has AMD graphics cards. I think either R9s. Yeah, I think they all have R9s. So those are pretty good. But the AMD cards and the faster NVIDIA cards, you know, you can just all of a sudden you can just get into an enormously high price range for laptops, and I really wanted to stay within a certain budget. So this is, like I said, an Electronics. I've never heard of them before. Generic company that so far seems to have made a pretty good computer. We'll see though whenever we fire up Battlefield that hopefully it fires up. We'll just take a quick look at the loading times and what the graphics look like. I can't imagine I'm ever going to run it on anything higher than 1080p settings, so I'm not really worried about 1440 or 4K, but I just hope that it can run 1080p ultra settings really well. It has, like I said, it has a Core i7, 16 megs of RAM. What else does it have? It doesn't have any hard drive. It only has a big SSD, a 512 gigabyte SSD. So that should be pretty good. One of the things that whenever I was doing a little bit of research that I did, one of the things that you can do to make a gaming laptop a little cheaper is not to even have an SSD, but to have something called a hybrid drive, which is where they take a mechanical hard drive and do whatever they need to do to make it faster, and they try to make it as close to an SSD as possible, but everything I saw, and there's nothing that comes close to what a true SSD does. So that was important to me, getting an SSD. What else? What else is about this computer? So the SSD, the RAM, it's an IPS screen, which then means it has a little finer detail. Came with Windows 10. One of the things that I liked about it, it specifically said it's a non-bloatware installation. And this Asus that I had been using for a long time, it came with so much Asus related crap. And there was at one point then I finally just decided, it was like work to sit down and figure out, okay, well, what is all this stuff doing? And especially at startup, and to either disable it or make it low priority. So the fact that this said it had a bloat-free Windows 10 installation, I thought was attractive. I got this at Newegg. I'm not really going to say the price. You can go on. There aren't many electronics gaming laptops that were on there. So and it just depends on the way it's configured. I think this was the highest configuration that they had with the 512 gigabyte SSD and 16 megs of RAM. Everything else seemed to be the same. So they all had the same Core i7. They all had the they had some size of SSD. I think the screen size may have varied too. So you could get a high performing gaming laptop from electronics with a little smaller screen size, but I wanted the biggest screen that I could get. And to me, I don't even think there was that much of a price difference. It might have been like $50. Now, whenever you're talking about $50 for the screen, and then $50 for the SSD, and $50 for the increased RAM, then all of a sudden it's $150 over the sort of the lowest configuration. But even that, I mean, to me, it's worth paying for. Okay, so I think the driver is ready. There was no restart, but let's click on Battlefield 1 here, and we'll see if it loads properly this time. That looks good. I am Dr. Billy Bob Jim Joe, which is a shortened version of what my kids somehow came up with. I have no clue how they came up with this, but they made my iPhone, whenever you can tell what you want Siri to call you, my kids said, call me Professor Dr. Billy Bob Jim Joe, Dr. Professor Billy Bob Jim Joe. So in Origin, that wouldn't let me fit in the professor part, so I'm just Dr. Billy Bob Jim Joe. I've seen the updates. So this is going to be the next thing. So that looks good. That looks good. That loaded really quickly. Unless it was sort of loading in the background whenever I was talking about the update. You can see I have 24 battle packs unopened. So there will be a Battlefield 1 battle pack opening video coming soon from Dad Gaming. You can look forward to that. Turn on notifications and you'll be sure to see when that's available. So that looked pretty good. Let's play something here real quick. So let's just go into campaign. So this all looks really, really pretty good.
My granddad
So here's the very first one.
Before I left, he told me what it takes to stay alive, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. New machines of war, like the tank, could sometimes change the battlefield overnight. Luckily, they were mostly on our side. Mostly.
I think this was the first one, wasn't it? What was the very first one that... Yeah, it must be. Oh no, this was it. Yeah, this was it. So this was the very first story that comes up the very first time that you are come into Battlefield 1, right? So let's take a look. We'll see how it all goes. So if I remember, this doesn't take very long. This was pretty amazing. Whenever I first saw this, I could not believe that the gameplay morphed into basically what you see here. It really took me aback whenever I saw it. I really was floored. I've grown up through many, many, many video game systems, although I haven't had a whole heck of a lot. In fact, we got our first computer. It was a very early, I think it was an Atari, back in probably about 1985, I think. But even before then, a buddy of mine, so this is the very early 80s, he had a TRS-80, and we all thought it was awesome. And he had these games that, the depth that they had was really neat, even way back then. So in the whenever I had the Atari, there were these, I don't even know if it was 8-bit. Was there 4-bit graphics, because they were incredibly blocky, some of them. But so there were things like Murder on the Zindernuf, which was a murder mystery on a blimp, and with just these incredibly blocky characters.
We're surrounded! We have to hold this line!
Yeah, so this is for this to be the gameplay is really just amazing. But let me pause it here, because I kind of want to tell my story. I'm already at the 12-minute mark in this video, so I'm gonna wrap it up here pretty quickly. But just some very brief history. So a TRS-80, then we had an Atari computer. I got my first IBM PC. It was a 286. That was 1987, and I took that to college, and I was one of the only kids in college who had a computer in my room at the time, which is pretty hard to believe. Then I upgraded that to a 386 and a 486, and the games got better, and they were pretty cool. And so some of the first... There was a World War I flying simulation. Red Baron is what it was called. And that was awesome. I played a lot of Red Baron. Then when Aces of the Pacific came out, which was the World War II simulation, that was really even better. And I loved that game. I played a lot of Jack Nicklaus Golf and Jack Nicklaus Silver Edition. I designed courses on called the JNSE, and I uploaded them on very early internet on my 14.4 and then my 28.8 and finally my 56K modem, which made that incredible screeching sound whenever you dialed in. And I'll never forget, one month I had a $108 phone bill that I had to pay off to my parents, which was a heck of a lot of money back in 1990 for me. And it was because I was spending so much time online, and so these obviously, oh yeah, and I know what it was. I was dialing into a golf bulletin board that I have no idea how I read about it, maybe from America Online or something. Or maybe they used to have little magazines that they would include in the games. Everything was physical. You got Aces of the Pacific. I think it came on 10 or 12 of the very little 3 1/4 or 3.5 inch floppy disks. And you know, when it was in 512 colors or 256 colors, you just thought that was such a huge step up. And you know, look where we are now with Battlefield. So it's pretty amazing. Not a lot of console play. We do have a Wii U, and we all had a lot of fun with the Wii for years. But it seems like PC games have really taken over, and that's why we're here. Hence the electronics gaming laptop, because everybody has computers. There are two of my guys over there, and then another one sits at the desk way over there. And so if I am sitting here on my laptop, then we can all be in the same squadron playing Battlefield 1, hopefully at the same time. So let's check this out real quick. Let me get back. Whoops. Resume. Okay, so the scroll wheel. So that all looks good. I'm gonna, whoops, sorry about my pinky there. Okay, let me move in. And I'll at least be able to take some shots. Uh-oh, I better move. Getting in slow motion here, right? I'm going down. My alpha's a 5. Okay. Wesley Williams. Sorry, Wesley. All right, so thank you for joining me. And hopefully we'll post some gameplay of Battlefield 1 soon with Dad Gaming. And, you know, certainly better Battlefield, certainly better coverage than what this was. But in any case, looks good so far, and I'm excited. And thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.